Players' Cup champion in the first Players' Cup, but there's also an Oceania International Championships top 8, an Auckland Special Event top 4, and a World's top 32. Fair to say she has been making a name for herself over the past couple of years as just a phenomenal player.
Same for Diego, of course. He's been around forever. He's been there since the start and has got that World Championships win under his belt in 2017 after some other top 8 placements in previous years, as well as a recent top 4 in the NAIC in 2019.
Yeah, I think when top 4 at an international championships, the big one with well over 1,000 players, if that is the least impressive of your 4 accomplishments, we are looking pretty good. So a quick reminder of the decks there. Natalie's got that Rapid Strike Urshifu with Galarian Moltres. Diego's got that Cassiraga Calyrex deck. But I, for one, am very interested to see that Solgaleo and Lunala. It's not a card we see very often. So let's head on down into the game and see if Diego is going to be making use of that card. Are we going to see it, Joe?
I absolutely think he will, to be honest. It's in the deck list to be an answer to Galarian Moltres in a lot of situations. The Galarian Moltres dealing 30 damage to itself lends itself to a Light of the Protector GX attack to actually deal 200 and response KO with having Psychic Weakness. It's not easy for these dark decks to get over the Solgaleo Lunala in response. So it's actually going to be an important tech card for Diego here. Natalie having a very fast turn. She doesn't have much going on, but she does at least represent the GMAX Rapid Flow next turn because she has found herself the Rapid Strike energy so far. So Diego has to be careful here because the Urshifu is looking pretty dangerous, but we could be seeing an early Horror House. This is one way to get victories very swiftly because you can simply stop Natalie from playing any cards, and if she happens to be holding too many trainers, this could be a way for Gengar to take a swift KO here.
Absolutely. Now, we know she's not, as it stands at the moment, we see that Viridian Forest, and that is it. That's the only thing in her hand which counts as a trainer card. But we have got Psychic Weakness. So, like you say, a Horror House here, just take a turn off. Don't do anything next turn. It's absolutely fine. And then I'm going to hit you for weakness and KO your only Pokemon, and then I'm good and I've won the game. So absolutely could be a quick victory from Diego. His hand is looking all right. He's got his Quick Ball here. So like you say, that Gengar and Mimikyu does come down. We've got another Quick Ball and a Dedenne and a Professor's Research. So let's just say this is not going to be the last card Diego plays this turn.
Yeah, this is an absolutely excellent hand. Alongside your Horror House, the one thing you want to do is try and get as many Shadow Rider Calyrex Vs into play as possible, because you just want to have that safety net of your opponent not touching your V Pokemon while you then establish them into much higher hit point V Maxes, and they start really running riot over the board from that stage onwards. Ooh. Diego does have a pretty rough discard here, but he is playing 2 copies of Ordinary Rod, so he can actually get away with this quite easily. Still can't find himself a switch out, though, which is really unfortunate. He plays 3 Air Balloon and 2 switches, so a huge sigh of relief for Natalie here. Diego can still develop a couple more Shadow Rider. I think keeping the Quick Ball open is still a decent option here, as Diego is forced to pass, and Natalie does find herself a Quick Ball, so she's still in the game here.
Yeah, that was almost a very, very different turn. Diego missing that switch out. He could have had a position where potentially next turn he gets 2 or 3 Shadow Rider Calyrex V Max with those abilities and everything else after Natalie basically took a turn off. And Diego could have been on the verge of victory. As it is, it falls a little bit short. Natalie's got the Galarian Moltres. We've got 2 energy on there already, and we've got the energy on the Urshifu. No supporter, mind you. A pretty weak hand overall. But we've still got something there, and I mean, you might as well attack, right? You don't have to switch with straight.
10 damage, yeah.
I mean, it's not much, admittedly.
Yeah. She has chosen tempo above all else here. She is establishing that Moltres for next turn, so it really makes the Gengar a lot less useful because the Moltres is just online for Natalie now to insta-respond, so this is such a scary card for Diego to be staring down at this stage. So what do you even go for here as Diego? You can go ahead and maybe develop an Alcremie here or a Solgaleo Lunala just instantly and go for Imani. You can even turn attach to your new tag team here and see a fresh 5 cards because you need to get your VMAX online.
Absolutely. It's looking super awkward because, not only has Natalie got the 2 energy on the Galarian Moltres, but we can see the top of her discard pile there. There's a Darkness energy. So there's no question of, will she be able to get the energy on Galarian Moltres? No, she absolutely will. That attack is on the board already. That is ready to go. So you can't use something like a Gengar and Mimikyu here.
No.
It's, last turn, great option. This turn, pretty terrible option. So now Diego's in this awkward situation where you can't just do what your deck does. And that's what you want to do. You want to do what your deck does, but you can't anymore. So now it's, what other attackers have I got? And it's your Alchemy with your Metal weakness, your Solgaleo and Lunala with your Psychic weakness. But that's not how your deck is designed to run, so it's a little bit more awkward, a little bit slower. And then you still kind of want your Shadow Rider Calyrex on the bench to use the ability, but then their boss's orders targets to give up 3 easy prizes. It's awkward. Now, that is the one card you did want, though. Path to the Peak is good.
Yeah, that's going to be very helpful for Diego, as Natalie's bold, aggressive start is really getting rewarded, as Diego was forced to Marnie last turn, so Natalie now gets a fresh 7 with that Professor's Research. We could even be seeing something like 100 Furious Blows for a KO here, with the Urshifu V in the active. We do see an Incense as well, so there is even the option to use Gmax Rapid Flow if you'd like to. It can set up some damage on something like even Dedenne is reasonable, because Natalie is playing 2 copies of the Quick Shooting Inteleon, so you can capitalize on those damage counters later. So we'll see what her option is here.
A lot of good options. She's put herself in a very good position. Like you say, you've got 2 Sobble down there. They could turn into Inteleon in the future. And it does look like we are going to see a Gmax Rapid Flow. Yeah, it's good decision. You get the KO on the Marshadow and 120 damage on the Solgaleo and Lunala.
Yeah, and turning off the Marshadow for Diego now means that he's locked his own Path to the Peak in play. So he won't be able to use his own Shadow Rider's abilities here. Diego does play a second copy of Marshadow, but the hand gets a lot worse now. You're forced into Professor's Research, and you oftentimes want to deal with the Moltres if you can. So Natalie identifying how important Marshadow is, taking that off the board, whilst also, getting that Solgaleo Lunala in range for your prize race is also really useful here.
Absolutely. We do see a quick ball there. So if Diego wants a Marshadow, and it looks like he does, he's going to be able to find it pretty easily. But this is not really what he was looking for. Having to use quick ball to get Marshadow to turn off his own Path to the Peak. And the thing to remember is that Shadow Rider Calyrex will only attach to your bench Psychic Pokemon, so you can't just put the Solgaleo and Lunala in the active and start building it up. You got to build it up on the bench and then bring it active. And like you say, it's then vulnerable to a Moltres, and it's kind of there to go for the Moltres, and it's an awkward situation.
Diego is going to go ahead and turn attach to one of his Shadow Riders, and he finally finds one of his VMAX. He can evolve up and start getting those Underworld doors on the go. That is the whole point of this archetype. You are built completely around your ability. It's such a fantastic one as well. You get to attach additional energy throughout your turn, and he's also able to pick up a second Shadow Rider here as well, because the more that you use, the better your board state gets. You get your attacks rolling much quicker, and you gain card advantage. It's everything you want in an ability realistically here.
Yeah, it's really good. There's an energy in hand ready to play. There's an air balloon on Dedenne. So we do see the second Underworld door here. And it might just be looking at a prize race. I mean, if we follow it through, if Diego uses Shadow Rider Calyrex to take out Urshifu, takes 3 prizes. And then Galarian Moltres takes 3 prizes. But all Natalie's really doing there is evening it up. And then Solgaleo and Lunala comes in to take out the Moltres, and maybe that's enough. Maybe that prize race works well enough, although that was 10 damage short.
Yeah, even with weakness, Diego hasn't been able to establish enough energy on that turn, so Natalie really can take advantage here. She can easily come on into the active with her Moltres, with the free retreat the air balloon is providing. I think really all you want to do is keep up with attachments now. We could even be seeing Drizzle, yeah, exactly. Energy Spinner, get more energies into play, because you know that these Moltres are a huge pain for Diego to deal with.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Diego is not playing those Inteleon, so there is not going to be an easy ping for free prizes from Diego. And I think Natalie is putting herself just in an excellent position to win this game at this stage, because now not only are we going to take a free prize KO, putting Natalie down to just 2 prizes remaining, which of course is huge because that's a Dedenne rather than a Pokemon V Max. That makes a huge difference. But also, she's got more Pokemon on the board, and she's got more energy on the board, and she's got a Drizzile which could turn into an Inteleon. And I mean, Diego is on the back foot here. It's looking super awkward.
Yeah, Natalie is representing game from so many different directions here. She has benched prizes. She has a backup Moltres, which can use Dire Flame Wings and simply a turn attachment if Diego uses any of his current Pokemon in play. So with no Alcremie developed at this stage, Diego has nothing that can really tank here. So Natalie is really in command of this position.
I mean, what do you even do if you're Diego? Like you're saying, Alcremie could be an option, but not this turn. And what are you going to do? Just let Natalie have another turn to, go even further ahead? I mean, a boss's orders at this stage will end the... Actually, there's nothing that can take a hit from Galarian Moltres. Nothing on Diego's board.
Yeah, Diego has to try and find his second copy of Path of the Peak if it's still available in his deck here. He has one Underworld Door to try and draw a couple cards, because he really needs to dig towards Stamp and Path. I think that's really all you can be doing here. Okay, there's Stamp and Research. That is pretty much the best 2 cards he could have drawn.
But that Galarian Moltres can still attack next turn.
Oh, so we need to draw into Path now with the Research. And the Moltres only has 1 energy on the bench, so Natalie would have to draw into an energy to turn attach as well.
Okay, so we're talking GX attack for the KO, plus Path, plus Reset Stamp. It's an option!
We're here, yeah. The one thing Natalie did was she kept a Sobble open, so she has substantially better outs here to still draw something useful, and wow. That's a good start.
Top deck.
Yeah. No Professor's Research. Possibly there were no more Path available for Diego, so just hoping that that this sticks here, the Reset Stamp. I believe all Natalie needs to do is Dire Flame Wings, then can attach the Rapid Strike energy and go in with a Gale Thrust to close out game 1 here very convincingly.
Absolutely. A very quick win from Natalie. That was not so much a quick win, but a very decisive win. It never really looked like it was going to go any other way. Natalie just set herself up there so well throughout that game. And it was those little decisions. One of the things you pointed out, leaving a Sobble there open. So that if a Drizzile were to come out, that's an extra out. Because you've got to be thinking, I'm going to end up being hit with a Reset Stamp or a Marnie or something along those lines. So let's give myself just one more option. And that was really well played.
Yeah, and you can see the Galarian Moltres V is really putting in work. As a contrast, we've seen Alex Szymanski, how he's had to navigate the matchup throughout the Players' Cup 4 with none of that type coverage on his side, means he really has to come up with some convoluted combos, whereas Natalie finds it a lot easier. She can just try and set up these backup Pokemon whilst taking advantage of the early tempo that Urshifu provides, and it means that you can race quite efficiently even with weakness against you on your VMAXs.
Absolutely. It's one of those decks where you're like, I want to play Rapid Strike Urshifu. I don't love the Shadow Rider Calyrex matchup. Let's just also play like a completely second half of the deck, which is Galarian Moltres. And so far, Natalie is 1 game away from moving into winners final. So let's head on over to game 2 of this matchup and see if Natalie can be the first person to, book her place into that winners finals. It's going very well. And, Carl said it a moment ago, she does not tend to lose in the Players' Cup.
Natalie just does not lose these games. She's on the big stage. She knows how to make those victories happen, and she's played flawlessly so far. Knows when to take those risks. Many people would have gone for quick ball, dead A change, see your fresh hand, go for researches, but she identified in that first game that she could easily get the job done just with the tempo of the Moltres. Diego with a terrible start here, simply attaching to a Marshadow. I don't think he's at risk of any KOs turn 1 here, which is fortunate for Diego, but it does mean that Natalie can, almost pretend that she's the one who's gone first in this game, because she can start getting energies onto the correct Pokemon and get those established earlier on than Diego can.
With the bonus that she's allowed to play a supporter card because it's not actually turn 1, it's turn 2. So it really is just a great start there. Looks like we're going to see a level ball for a second Sobble there, leaving them open for Drizzar for consistency, maybe Inteleon to ping a little bit of extra damage if need be in a little bit. This is going extremely well. Again, it's it's one of those decks, we're seeing more of it in the Players' Cup 4 and here. As I like to call it, decks with weird energy lines. You see Natalie's energy line? She's playing Rapid Strike energy and Fighting energy and Darkness energy. We're used to seeing a lot more mono-type energy decks in recent years, and in the past, really since Chilling Reign came out and we've got these Galarian birds that open up these other options, we are seeing some much weirder energy lines, and Natalie showing us that actually these kind of decks can be very effective still.
Yeah, Moltres is one of the most impressive cards from the new set, and Natalie not even wanting to put an Urshifu into play here, researches, then is able to Viridian Forest away a Dark Energy. She can even Quick Ball another one into the discard pile and develop an Air Balloon here. That means she's immediately defending herself against a Gengar play. And she's also able to develop another Moltres. What an insane start. And again, there's so much pressure that she's representing on this turn here.
Oh, this is not looking good. You can't play Gengar. Like you say, last game we talked about the fact that Diego, one of his options here would be, I know, I'll use Horror House, I'll buy myself a little bit of time, start getting set up. Well, there's no Psychic Weak Pokemon on Natalie's side of the field here, and she set herself up. So there's Galarian Moltres in the active, 2 Darkness Energy on, but the ability will get the third. You don't need to play another energy. And Diego plays Professor's Research here, but already Diego's got to be thinking, what do I do? This is supposed to be a good matchup. I'm supposed to have type coverage here. It's been completely flipped.
Yeah, and his hand isn't great either. He can Fog Crystal out potentially another Calyrex V and then just Quick Ball a lot and go for a Dede change, I believe. Might be. Yeah, he does. Okay, so he does still have Dedenes. I was panicking, but it's a Fog Crystal, so all the Psychics are stacked at the front, thanks to PTCGO. But getting rid of your Reset Stamp isn't ideal either. That's one of your only real comeback mechanics here, I think, alongside Path of the Peak, where you just slow down the Galarian Moltres and make their energy cost that little bit more expensive. So, yeah, Diego trying to buy that turn is usually easy to come by via the Horror House, but the way Natalie's developed her board means that she's completely immune to that Horror House GX right now.
Yeah, and we see once again Diego is going for that Solgaleo and Lunala, and this is a situation where, as a Rapid Strike player, you might be a little bit tempted to maybe go for a Rapid Strike Urshifu to spread some damage around, but as long as Natalie can just keep getting these Galarian Moltres and keep getting energy on them, especially with the pings, that should be all she needs to deal with, it's only that one real awkward Pokemon, unless Diego can also get an Alchemy established, but that's going to be awkward. And even then, Natalie can just use Boss's Orders to take cheeky prizes off those inevitably bent Shadow Rider Calyrex. So Diego is one game down here, but clearly it's going to be an uphill battle to try and even things up.
Diego is agonizing over this Dede change. It's kind of the responsible thing to do because your hand has nothing else going for it, but he is really valuing this Reset Stamp highly. He is taking his time and thinking, our top decks at this stage a safer route for me because I know I need this Reset Stamp in the long term if I'm going to be able to claw back from this slow start.
Yeah, it's an awkward one. I think you're right. It's got to be done because there's just nothing in Diego's hand which is going to get him back into this game. So you have to go for it. But then by the same token, you're losing these resources. And Diego's just not... He is not dictating the game. Natalie is dictating this game. She's had a fantastic start. She's got the right Pokemon with the right energy on. And you see here, Diego is on the back foot. He is reacting to what Natalie is doing. And the problem is that his deck is built to beat regular Rapid Strike Urshifu decks. It's not really built to beat these Galarian Moltres variants, and I think we're seeing that here. Natalie, she hasn't even taken a prize, and already we're sitting here going, yeah, she's in a great position to win this game.
Yeah, and Diego may think about just retreating into the Dene GX here because you can try and make the prize map worse for Natalie by simply at some point using your resetting hole to remove the easy one prize. The way that you give up this one prize now means the Dene sits on board for the remainder of the game. So Natalie only really needs to get through one free prize Pokemon. She can go ahead. Dire Flame wings the bench. She's always going to target down the Solgaleo Lunala here. She does have level ball, but she's going to choose to hold it for next turn where the Shady Dealings can continue to give her anything that she needs. And very fast turn, but gets the job done. It's very effective. Bringing up these Pokemon from the bench as well makes it more difficult for Diego to use that Underworld Door. It only works on benched Pokemon as well, so tagging it damage-wise is effective, but also shutting down the easy Underworld Door is also a huge headache for Diego here.
Yeah, if Diego wants to use it, he's got to get it to the bench, get the energy on using Underworld Door, get a second energy on either with, hand attachment or Underworld Door, then get it back into the active. And to be fair, there's a Marshadow with an air balloon, but you're still going to need a switch to get the Marshadow into the active in the first place. And if it doesn't move out the active, Natalie's taking an easy free prizes next turn. And that bench Galarian Moltres has an energy, and that is huge. Galarian Moltres is not really a one-turn Pokemon. You've got that ability, free energy attack, attach, ability, you need that third energy. By Natalie having that Galarian Moltres on the bench with an energy, it means she can get that attack going straight away, one go, if this active goes down, which is looking far from a probability at this stage.
Yeah, this is actually horrific for Diego. Both of his switches have been played, so the only way he can retreat is via Air Balloon, which means he is forced to attack with a Shadow Rider this turn, I believe, or you just try and do the same thing again and hide into a Dedenne. That's the best case scenario he can hope for this turn.
That's not a good best case scenario, Joe.
No, it's really not. We're going to see the turn attachment onto the Shadow Rider, and we are just going to see a Dead A change here from Diego. Let's see what 6 cards he is able to work with. He does find himself the Air Balloon, and he does find a couple of energy. He could begin to Underworld Door. You could put Natalie's Moltres in range of self-KO if it continues to attack, but you are still giving up 3 prizes willingly, and it's one of your only 2 Shadow Riders, so it still doesn't feel great.
And Natalie at this stage does look to be 2 attacks away from winning the game if this carries on. Yep. We can see Natalie's got an air balloon in her hand, so realistically, she's not going to attack with that Galarian Moltres if it's in the active and in range of being KO'd. She will when it's going to win the game, and the KO is completely irrelevant.
Yeah, and Diego doesn't even find Path of the Peak. I think that was his best hope here, was to try and put the Moltres just 30 damage away from a KO and then put the path into play so Natalie can't just have an easy retreat option and just attack with the other one. Now Diego, I think he's just hoping that Natalie's hand is small enough that he can try and buy a turn with Dedenne here. We know that with that level ball, it's not really going to work out for him. But I don't see a better play from his side of the table right now.
No, it's not looking good at all. There's just not very much to do. And, we mentioned earlier about weakness. It started in the video game, it was brought over into the card game, and it's a big part of the card game. And part of the skill in building your decks and playing games is navigating weakness. You need to know if you have a particular problem with weakness, and what Natalie's done here is gone, well, I do have a problem with weakness. I have a problem with psychic weakness. That is a big problem with my deck. But the only thing that's really hitting me for psychic weakness that's seeing a significant amount of play right now is Shadow Rider Calyrex. So now I'm going to play a Pokemon that hits that for weakness. And it's always been a big part of the game, and we see it here. It is really dictating the matchup. This is a matchup of weakness, and unfortunately it looks like Natalie has built her deck better to take advantage of it. So we see the retreat into Shadow Rider Calyrex. We do see Path to the Peak, which is huge, but we don't see a KO, I believe.
No. We're putting ourselves in range of Moltres knocking itself out with its own attack here. That's the best Diego could conjure up. Wow, a Professor's Research off the top. That means you can just churn through. You can just replace the stadium quite easily now with the Drizzile.
Yeah.
And keep going like it's nothing. Natalie in a really commanding position at this stage.
Yeah, she's doing pretty well. She's replaced the stadium, which she needed to do. She's got the air balloon, which she needed to do. The only thing left was getting an energy, which was a given with Viridian Forest on board. But, just to confirm. So now we see the Dire Flame Wings. Now we see the energy attachment. We retreat the Galarian Moltres. Get the attack with the fresh Galarian Moltres, and essentially, fine, that Galarian Moltres will now self-KO when it attacks, but it also wins the game when it attacks. And the only thing Natalie really needs to finish out this game is a boss's orders, maybe, but she's got one in hand, so this is looking very, very close to good game territory at this stage for Diego.
Yeah, once again, Natalie's put herself in that position where she can win from so many different angles at this stage. Boss's Orders is always on the table. Thanks to the prized Alchemy VMAX, Diego again has no other option here that can tank a hit from Galarian Moltres V. A little bit unfortunate for Diego, but there's really not much else going on. The reset stamp has already been used. One of the Path of the Peak are already down here. Diego only has 10 cards remaining in his deck, so not sure what else he can even do here. You can dig with this one Underworld door and research and guarantee yourself to hit that path, which he actually does straight away. But there's already 3 energy on the bench to Moltres.
Path doesn't do enough.
I'm not seeing it here.
No, so we see the light of the Protector, but it's not going to be enough. Diego knows it. Natalie knows it. She is just going to promote her Galarian Moltres. She's going to attack. It's going to get KO'd, but unfortunately, Diego does not have 2 prizes remaining. He has 4. So all Natalie needs to really do here is just click the attack. No messing around. Natalie takes the KO on Diego's Pokemon, KOs her own Pokemon in the process, but I don't think she's going to mind because she's just booked her place in a winner's finals.
What a convincing series as well. That was really incredible stuff. Very easy to close out the win here. Diego did have to take a couple prizes of his own because the Moltres was knocking itself out, but not to worry, that's still an easy victory for Natalie there. And really, she demonstrated the power of that Galarian Moltres V. Honestly, I feel like it's one of the strongest cards that we came out from the Chilling Reign set. Hits for weakness on one of the best VMAX cards out there. But in general, just being a self-sufficient attacker where it's attaching to itself the entire time really lets you sit back and put checkmate on board, which is exactly what Natalie was able to do in a swift 2-0 in that series.
Yeah, she never really looked in danger of not winning that game. That was a very commanding series. It really did look like Diego's deck. You know, we saw that Solgaleo and Lunala. It looked like against decks that are playing one Galarian Moltres, you know, as a little bit of a tech, it looked like it would be good enough. But Natalie, like we say, she made her deck really almost in 2 halves. She can play the deck as a Rapid Strike Urshifu deck, and it works. But she can also play it as a Galarian Moltres deck, and the fact of the matter is, we saw in Game 2, there was no... I mean, I know Urshifu did hit the bench at one point, but Natalie played as if she was just playing a Galarian Moltres deck, and it worked perfectly, and against basically like a quad Moltres deck, Diego just did not have an answer, and I agree with you about Galarian Moltres. I've always said the card is good, but I watched the whole of Players' Cup 4, and as I'm sitting there watching it, I was like, okay, I said the card was good, I severely underrated quite how good this card is. That card is nuts.
Yeah, it's everything you want on a basic, realistically. And when it's overtaking things like Zacian and ADP decks, you know that this is the real deal. It's a phenomenal card, and not only for weakness, but in general, it's just all round such a great package. You do feel bad for Diego. Had a tough break there in that second game. Prized the Alchemy VMAX, which is the other option that he has to not have weakness on the Moltres. He had to get rid of his reset stamp, so his comeback mechanics really did fall at the wayside there, unfortunately. But it is what it is. He has to continue and battle it out in the losers bracket from this point on.
Unfortunately so, and that was, you know, the thing. We were in the winners bracket there, so Diego is not out of the competition.